All right, updates. Here we go, updates. This is what's going on around the old homestead the past week. We got a dumpster. We got a 40-yard dumpster. And let me tell you what happened with the dumpster. It didn't work out quite as I planned. This is what happened. That's what's in there right now. And that is not even the whole roof. If you haven't seen the video where I tear down the barn, I'll link it in the description below. But we tore down the barn, and that's why I got a dumpster, because I got to get the junk out of the backyard. But we set the roofing aside because obviously I'm not going to be able to fit everything. This is the biggest dumpster they make, a 40-yarder. I'm not going to be able to fit everything from the trash pile inside the dumpster. So I was thinking, man, I'll rip the roof apart and I'll save the roof, because I know I can't burn the shingles and the tar. So I'll take the roof and I'll put it in here. Well, that's as far as I got. And if you can see back there, see, I'll zoom in here. Right there is the rest of the roofing that I still got to get in here. I've laid it pretty neatly because I have a nice attachment that I got that I'll show you in a second. I'll tell you about for the skid steer. But that's what's going on here. So let me walk back here to the backyard and I will show you what the trash heap looks like and what the plan is to get that out of here. So that's the rest of the roofing that's left that's still got to go in the dumpster. What I'm doing back here is, this is one pile that's going to get burnt. This is the rest of the tear down area. So this is not a pile, it's just what is left to get burned, basically. And then what I did over here, I separated two different piles. So I'm going to burn this pile behind me, and I'm going to burn this pile over here. And I divvied them up into smaller sections because obviously I don't want to burn the trees down and my neighbor's house down. So that's why I did that. So here's the result of using the old skid steer with the new attachment I got. This is the concrete pad that the barn was sitting on. Obviously I'll be able to utilize this pad to do whatever I want to do with, but I got a good chunk of material taken apart, and I'll show you right now just the key to how I did all of this. There's the beast right there. This is it. This is the attachment that I got from a company called Titan Attachments. From my point of view, basically they make affordable attachments for people like me that are still work great. So this is technically a stump grapple bucket, meant for removing stumps and stuff like that. But the reason I got it instead of a traditional grapple bucket is because it's all half-inch, looks to be all half-inch steel. And it's their heavy duty version, so I didn't want to be grabbing onto big rocks and construction material and stuff like that and end up bending a piece of the attachment. So that's why I got this unit. Super affordable for what it can do, and it's been great so far. So this attachment is how I've moved all of that stuff. I will show you one other thing it moved. We have a bunch of limestone up on the top of our hill that is obviously, way too heavy for any human to move. So I instituted the help of the skid steer and was able to grab some pretty stinking big rocks. So here they are right here. I've not overlaid them off the side of the edge of the pond yet, but this will give you the visual idea of what I want to do. Basically, I'm going to get a pond liner for this thing, and it's got to get this whole edge of the pond's got to get trenched, and the edge of the pond liner goes into the trench, and then we bury that with dirt. But to cover up some of that liner, because you'll be able to see most of it that comes over the top of the pond, we're going to cover them up with these rocks. I mean, these things are beautiful. They're huge. If you can imagine, I mean, that's my hand. I don't know if that does it any justice. It probably doesn't. This thing's big. Basically, I used the Titan attachment grapple bucket and I got underneath it, lifted it up, and my whole skid steer I was riding on two wheels. I wish I could get it on film for you, but I didn't. I was too preoccupied with whether I was going to end up killing myself or someone else, so I didn't film it. But the whole skid steer was tilted forward as I was coming down this hill up here. This is where I'm getting the limestone from, the top of this hill. There's tons of it just on the surface of the ground up there, and so I'm using that grapple bucket to grab onto them, to pull them down here, and we're going to do some cool stuff with these stones. Like I said, we want to line the whole edge of the pond with them, but we also want to build like a kind of like a man-made waterfall of some sort. So I have a pump that pumps the water up to the top of this rock kind of cliff, and it comes down and runs off and then back into the pond again. Kind of create a cool little visual and effect with the water and stuff. So that's one thing we're going to do with the rocks. But it's working. It's been pretty dry here the past week, and it's been really beautiful. I mean, in the mid 50s, and it's gotten to the mid 60s the past week. So everything's gotten really dry. I've been able to take the tracks off the skid steer, which has been a big help. I do still have some muddy spots here in clearing the dirt. Oh, let me show you. I've been clearing this side yard, but I moved all of it. So here it is now. This is what I did. This is what I felt was the best solution, and I'll tell you why. So I started moving all this dirt, didn't really have a good place to put it. I'm done with the pond basically, so I didn't need any more dirt for the pond so far as leveling the banks and all that stuff. So I just started moving it the best I could. So a couple things I did. One very important thing that I had to fix before the rainy season starts here was we would get, I mean, just massive amounts of water over here because of the runoff from the greenhouse and the runoff from the front of the property, and even a little bit of runoff from the back of the property. It would all kind of congregate right here in this area. So what I did was I took the skid steer and I just dug a trench, and this will all get smoothed out. It'll get graded. We're going to plant grass here, so it's not going to look like a big mess that it is now. And once the soil dries out, I'll be able to level it and grade it and all that good stuff. Right now it looks like junk because it's just trenched, because I had those traction tracks on the skid steer, and that really, I mean, that with, you know, 3 tons of weight can sink through some soil pretty quick. So that's why it's all rutted up and all that stuff. But it's starting to get dry, like I said, and I'm been able to smooth it out a little bit. But this is what I did. I dug a trench basically straight to the creek. And so all of this goes this way, this side goes this way, and then all of this land comes this way. And then when it gets into this channel, and I'm gonna make this a little less drastic, it won't be this drastic of dips on either side. I'll kind of slowly smooth it out back so it looks more of like a hill and not like a cliff. So that's what I did, and this all runs, and this has already been tested. It rained about a week and a half ago, and it all ran off into the creek. So here's what happens. As you can see, cut the banks of the creek out here, and now it all runs and then just goes straight back into the creek. So that's it. That's where this whole side property stands right now. What you doing, Mr. Bean? Careful. It's muddy over there. Okay. So we've been hesitating on shooting the part 2 of Gardenatier's video because there hasn't been a good time, honestly, to do it. So we're just gonna do it right now and show you what the plan is. So this is my wife's ingenious design skills that she did in a spreadsheet view. So if you can imagine, this whole area from the front of the greenhouse kind of to the back of the greenhouse and over to the fence line is this area that you see here. So
it's about 45 feet by 100 feet.
Yeah, so 45 by 100.
It's actually 46 to be exact.
Each one of these blocks is that bed right there, which I'm going to do a tutorial on how I made that bed in a different video when we make 20 more of them, or however many. It's a 12 foot by 4 foot bed basically, and it's 2 feet high. And so those are the gray blocks you see right here. So there's 19 of them.
Yep. We took a couple out so you could get the skid steer.
Yeah. If you follow our Instagram channel, you'll notice, or you'll have seen the post that we made on creating a kind of a quiet place, or what we're calling the Nook. So we're gonna do those beds like I just showed you, and we're gonna put them in place here. So we're putting down mulch first over everything. We got super blessed the other day, and we've been looking for a tree company for a while to drop off mulch to our house, and with no luck basically. And I found a tree company that was cutting some kind of easement for some internet lines, and they had a full truck, and I was like, hey, can you just dump that right across the street? They were like, yeah, we'll come dump it tomorrow. So they dumped it. Now we got a bunch of mulch that I've been using the skid steer to move around. And so we got kind of this whole area done. So we got a big score win on that.
Yeah.
So they're going to be dumping a bunch of mulch here. Point is, we're going to be layering this whole area in mulch before we put the beds down. First bed going in, second bed, third bed, fourth bed, fifth bed, sixth bed. And the reason we're doing them in phases is because, one, they take a little bit to build, and they take a lot of money to build. Those beds are about $100 a piece.
That's not including filling them.
Yeah, that's without soil.
And also for plant dates. So for our first round of crops going in by March 15th. So
yeah, so we need to make sure we have seedlings started inside, and we need to make sure they have beds to be planted in. So beds 1 through 6 going in before March, or needs to go in March 15th. So 1 through 6 needs to be done before March 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And then 7 through 12, which is on this side, that's got to be done before April 15th. And then the last phase, which is 13 through 19, has got to go in before May 1st. So the reason we're doing it like this too is because when we fill the beds, they're going to take a decent amount of labor to fill. So we're using the skid steer to fill them all, to kind of cut how much manual labor we have to do there. But
talk about hugelkultur at all?
No. We need to tell you about hugelkultur.
Show them the big pile of wood over there.
Yeah. So we have, well, let's first tell them what hugelkultur is. So we kind of stumbled upon this just randomly because, I mean, we have 2 foot high raised beds to fill. We stumbled upon this guy, I think it's channel Self-Sufficient Me. Anyway, I'll link it in the description below. In this video, we found out about hugelkultur, which is a big deal, and we didn't know anything about it. But it's basically it's basically a German method of gardening where you take organic material like logs, sticks, mulch, leaves, grass, all this stuff that's not soil, and you put it in your raised bed, or
you make a mountain.
Yeah, or most people make mounds out of it, and then they cover the whole mound with soil. And obviously over time that stuff cooks down, so the logs cook down, the sticks and all of that cooks down, and creates great soil.
Helps with water retention too.
Yeah, retains water, releases heat. So we found out about this method of gardening. We're like, man, this is perfect, because we have some tall beds that we got to fill, and if we were to fill that whole thing with nice soil and compost, it would be an arm and a leg. We wouldn't be able to afford it. So it was totally a blessing that we stumbled upon this method of gardening, because now we have a way to mainly fill up the whole bed and then just put a layer of topsoil right on top.
50% will be hugelkultur, and then the top, so 1 foot hugelkultur, the top foot would be topsoil and compost.
Yeah. So
we'll cut our cost in half.
Yeah. So it's a perfect scenario. So check out hugelkultur when you get a chance. I'll leave some articles in the description below. Anyway, that's the vision for the Gardeneteers, and
so I guess a vegetable and a flower garden.
Yeah.
We've got.
And the concept is really to make it a beautiful, peaceful place. Like we said, if you haven't seen the first part to where we introduce and my wife gives the vision of the Gardeneteers, check it out. I'll leave it in the description below, because that's super important as you understand the concept of what we're doing moving forward. We really want to make this a beautiful place for people to come and to heal and to have just that time that they need to be with the Lord and
to mourn and process
to process tragedy and trauma in their lives. So it's important that this whole area kind of just resembles peacefulness. Last thing I want to show y'all is kind of the Nook is what we're calling it. So I busted my butt moving this thing one day, and as I talk about the rest of the vision of this shed, I'll pin some video up here and play it while I'm describing what this thing is going to be. So she doesn't look like much, but we got her for a cheap price. We couldn't pass it up, and it's the shell of what we want to make something beautiful out of. So it's an 8x10. We're gonna build a lean-to off of this side right here so we can put garden tools and stuff on, and then we're gonna do like this kind of like, we're gonna take pallets and we're gonna build kind of a deck on the front of it.
Porch. Yeah,
like a front porch. So that'll be cool. And then we're just gonna use the existing frame to do what we want. So we're gonna be having kind of hopefully some French doors on the front, glass French doors that let the light in. We're gonna have a big window on the back, and hopefully 2 smaller windows on the sides. So yeah, it's not much. It's just a normal traditional shed, but it saves us a lot of time, saves us a lot of money, and gets us started on a project that we really wanted to get into. So what we're calling this thing is the Nook, which is...
So by definition, a nook is a place of seclusion and security. I was kind of looking towards the name sanctuary, and I was like, I really like Nook. And I was like, well, let's just look up Nook and see what it even means. And when we saw the definition, we knew it was a good fit.
Yeah, so that's what we're calling it, the Nook. Yeah, well, somehow we'll run electricity to this. We need an AC unit. We're gonna put like a miniature wood stove in it for the winter. It'll just be a cool, chill area to come and to process. So that's it. That's what we're calling the Nook. All right, guys, that's it. I know I talked a lot, but I wanted to give y'all all the updates so y'all knew what was going on. And
also, if you want to stay more up to date, like on a daily basis, there's so much work and so much happening around the farm, around the homestead. Follow us on Instagram, Goshen Farm and Gardens. We're daily, sometimes twice a day, posting pictures and updates of what we're up to around here. So if you want a more personal feel of what's going on, definitely follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll leave that in the description below, and we will see y'all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys.